I know it's kind of a personal thing, but it actually touches everyone in Milford. I want to send my condolences to the Oliva family. If anyone noticed or drove by Edwards yesterday, you saw something like you've never seen before. And being a member of our community, they certainly get the turnout that they deserved. And I just want to send my condolences out to that family.
Nobody could have driven by. They're all in line.
Oh, yeah, that's true. There was no one out. Second item on the agenda, the approval of the June 12th, 2019. That was our last meeting before we adjourned for the summer. Motion by Chuck.
Second.
Second by Al. All those in favor? And one abstention for Brant. And one abstention for Brant. He wasn't there. All right, reviewing subcommittees. I distributed these subcommittees to everybody. Please review them if you don't have them. They're also online on the Google Drive. Especially any chairman, please add Brant if he is now on your subcommittee. Please add him to your email list so that he gets correspondence to know when meetings are. Especially since with the town meeting coming up in Capitol, we're going to be having quite a few more meetings with our subcommittees.
What's a Brant?
I'm a Brant.
Oh, thank you. Should have put that on the agenda, so I would have remembered to do it. I'd like everyone to please welcome Brant Hornberger, the newest member of the Finance Committee. Brant, we will explain to you the hazing policy when the cameras shut off, okay?
Good.
But anyway, welcome, and I know Brant personally, and he's going to be a fantastic addition to this committee.
Thanks, happy to be here. Just by way of a quick introduction, I've lived in town for about 9 years. I am, in fact, married to Megan Hornberger. I think people know her from the school committee, and I'm disclosing that to you guys as courtesy, of course, but also I've formally disclosed that. Professionally, I have a finance career for about 17 years with Staples in their delivery business. So I'm excited to be here and try to contribute to the town and carry on some of the great work you guys have been doing for a long time. I think at least one member told me 43 years, so I'm my first meeting, so it's exciting.
Yeah, Brant's one of those people in town that their title is, "This is Megan's husband." Yeah, unfortunately, he has that when he gets introduced. So, anyway, so the review the subcommittee. So if you guys can look at that. Also, if anyone is on something that they absolutely do not want to be on, please let me know. I'd be happy to change it around. As I mentioned, we're trying to do a little bit of rotation because people had been in subcommittees for a long time, and I think people might get a little stagnant and that kind of stuff. So a little switch up, I think, is a good thing. So. Next item on the agenda, the town engineer. I wanted Mike Dean to come in, and I know Scotty came in now because I think a large portion of what Mike probably is going to be reviewing is stormwater management, because that obviously is a big ticket item that I know I'm very interested in hearing about, as well as the other engineering stuff. So Mike, Scott, if you want to come up, and then Mike, if you want to start with the stormwater so we can get Scotty out of here, I think that would be good for him. And thank you guys very much for coming in. I appreciate it. It's been a while since we saw you guys, so.
So I just have some handouts for the projects that we will go over.
How you doing, Mike?
I wish you'd forget my phone number. Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
I just want to say a few things first.
Yeah.
So, obviously last year we, told you this was coming and this is it. So now we're into our first year of it. So now it's getting serious, and the workload and the stuff that needs to be done has to be done as a team with me and Mike. It can't be, can't have one of us do it. It has to be done. I got to do my end of it. He has to do his end of it. So we're gonna try to do all this together. So any meetings we attend, it should be both of us.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Going forward, all right. That's why I'm here, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's how it's been to this point.
Well, I'm gonna present this article, because Mike can't do it, so I'll do my usual stormwater article every year, like I always do.
Great, perfect.
Right, so we'll just do a quick update for the stormwater, the EPA general permit. Stormwater MS4 is what we refer to it as. Let's see, as we all know, the effective date was July 2018. Since then, a notice of intent has been submitted. towards the end of September 2018, which was required. All of these are requirements that we've been following. Following the submittal, the required submittals, the EPA has granted authorization to discharge stormwater from the town's MS4 system. And they sent us a letter authorizing all that, so that's basically proof that we're in compliance, so they would not send that letter. Since then, we've put together a stormwater management plan that's posted on the town's website, and that was required to be done by the end of July 2019. Ongoing items such as review the town bylaws, inspections and water sampling of all the outfalls townwide are taking place. And then that leads to preparing, or what has been prepared, to draft form an illicit discharge detection and elimination system, IDDE, and that's in draft form right now, and we're moving to finalize that. Inspections of stormwater management systems, about 32 of them, detention basins and structures have been inspected, and there's a thick report that's been put together that shows all the results of those inspections. The annual report will be due by the end of September 2019, which we're in position to meet that requirement. That's just a standard 16-page form, but once again, there's a lot of boxes that have to be checked saying that we're doing what we're supposed to. And second year into the second year, this will also be the second year of funding, which will be October, coming up in October for $400,000. That's in line with the capital plan that's been in circulation. So for the second year coming up, funding will continue and efforts to remain in compliance will continue. So that's the update for the stormwater.
Has anything changed forecast-wise? I know we've always been treading water and thinking, is anything gonna change? Is anything on the horizon is anyone talking about anything that the forecast, because like I said, we're kind of treading water right now, we're doing what we have to do. We're not being overly aggressive on our spending. Is there anything that's saying that maybe the court system, because I'm not following this, is there anything?
There seems to always be some kind of action going on.
Okay.
But we can't stop what we're doing.
Oh, no,
So
I know.
until we know for sure,
Yeah.
we gotta keep going forward.
Yeah.
But there's always something going on. There's definitely court litigation, stuff like that. But doesn't mean we're gonna win, doesn't mean we're gonna stop. So
Yeah.
if it ever does happen, we'll know, for sure.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was any talk out there, because like I said, I don't hear much about that stuff. Yep.
The last estimate we had was a plan that was 4,322. Is that still 400,000 this year? You think it'll be 300,000 next year? And then 2 years running of 200?
Yes, that hasn't changed, correct.
Gotta stick with the plan, yeah. pretty
I
much.
just want, with all the changes, you never know if it goes up or down. So I just want to make sure that our capital
That
plan.
plan should be pretty solid going forward.
Anybody else have any questions? Yep.
Piggybacking on your question, who is in charge of that litigation? Is that our town
It's
council?
all
It's-
different, no, we don't, we belong to different stormwater
An alliance, right?
coalitions and stuff like that, yeah.
Do you know who the contact person would be to get a status update
can
on
get
that
you-
litigation?
I can get you all that stuff, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Send me an email, I'll send it to you.
okay.
Any other questions on stormwater? I have a question actually about the hazard mitigation plan, quickly. How many years, because I don't want us to get caught what happened last time, how many years is our renewal on that plan? How often do we have to update that? How often does that have to be resubmitted?
It's good for 5 years,
5
but
years.
the process takes
A couple years.
a year and a half to 2 years, so yeah, essentially.
So basically, as soon as you're done, it's almost.
Yeah, I mean, the last one, because it expired, I think took a little bit longer, but to renew it, the time frame will be less than 2 years, but it's 5 years, and even to be conservative.
As long as we have it on the Google, as long as we have it on the Google Calendar to remind us, so.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Is there any other surprises that you know of coming our way? I mean, I got one other item on your list that you submitted before, which was the dam.
Yes.
Is there any other permits or surprises that we should know about in the next year or two?
Give them the list that you gave them, right?
Yeah, not,
Jams, no,
Okay.
that's my list, that's a different list.
I just want to make sure that our funding list is up to date.
Yeah, no surprises that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Under my capital plan or,
And you're watching all, because the last time what bit us was the town official that was supposed to be watching the entire list didn't. And then all of a sudden, 2 years it took to catch back up on one. But it was a whole bunch of money that we never budgeted because nobody ever brought it up.
Well, I have obviously a highway department list that we're not here to talk about tonight, but I haven't met my subcommittee yet, so.
No, Scotty, I don't care if it's on your list, Mike's list,
But Mike
Chris's
has-
list, as long as it's on our main list, so we have money planned.
Of course.
All right, so why don't you go with the number 3, the 319 grand project?
okay, yeah, there's not much on that. That is the basin on the corner of Dilla Street and Sumner Street. That's all completed, on time and on budget.
The mosquito factory?
That's what they've been calling it. There's nothing we can do about that.
That's what they told you to do, and then they told you we shouldn't do that anymore, so.
The TIP project, which is a project Scotty's been working on for years, that's Main Street, starts at Water Street up to Prospect Street. That's through MassDOT. The most recent event there is that it's finally on the MassDOT list, website to open bids November 13, 2019.
And that is about 6 months behind schedule.
Okay, I was just gonna say
We
that.
wanted that to start this summer, but
Yeah.
looks like the spring now.
Okay.
That's all,
So-
that's controlled by MassDOT.
Right. There should be no more consultant fees as far as I know.
Yeah.
I think we've paid everything we're gonna pay for that.
So it does look like we'll start this if everything goes
Yep,
in the spring?
in the spring, yep.
And you're not coming back for any money for it.
I don't think so.
Good.
He said think.
The- If so, that's on his list.
Yep,
CRWA, Charles River Watershed Association, that's just a project that's been ongoing. The CRWA was able to acquire $200,000, and that's going towards stormwater somewhere in the town of Milford. And then what we did, we submitted an application under the 604B program, which is associated with water quality plan from the state. And we received a small grant there of $25,000. So this project, it's ongoing, and it's, has a value of $225,000 at no cost to the town.
Very nice.
It's gonna go towards some type of stormwater. We're narrowing it down, but we don't have an exact site that we're gonna go construct at this
But either
point.
way, and that's still gonna go for our credit, for our phosphorus credit, and all
Oh,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
So
Perfect.
does that bring down the 4322, or is that?
No.
in the- oh.
No.
That brings the big number, that'll bring that
Yeah.
down, only to 40 million.
And once again, the Milford Pond Dam, that's to address deficiencies and general maintenance that were shown in a Phase 1 report that was done back in July 2016. And that's just continuing the efforts out and around that area of Milford Pond. Let's see, so that's coming up in October for $138,000. What that was originally was on the capital plan for a total amount of $188,000. In last year, fiscal year 2019, I separated that $50,000 for engineering to get a better handle and make sure that the amount that we're going for was accurate, and so that's the second phase of that project. The 138, and that's on in October as well. Then the last one, Godfrey Brook, that's in October also for $75,000. Now, this one was moved around a little bit on the capital plan due to the hazard mitigation plan. We were pending approval of the hazard mitigation plan, and pending that approval, we knew following the approval, we were going to be submitting the grant application for Godfrey Brook. So this $75,000 will be used towards Godfrey Brook regardless of the outcome of the grant application that's pending in September. It'll either be used for the design, if we're not granted the money for Godfrey Brook, then we'll use this as its original intended purpose, which was for design, to keep moving, because this area is problematic.
We haven't talked about Godfrey Brook for an awful long time. We talked about it for a while, and we were hot and heavy with it, and it seemed like it went on the back burner for a while. One of the reasons was the hazard mitigation plan and that kind of stuff. Can you just update us on where we stand with Godfrey Brook? Are we 50% done fixing it? Are we 25%? Just for everybody, because I think just as a nice refresher course for everybody. Like I said, since it's been so long since we talked about Godfrey Brook.
let's see, after this project, if we do this one, we'll be a little over 50% done. We have a couple more culverts that need work, but these are the worst parts right now. The other stuff's still got some life left to it. We're gonna just keep doing what we're doing. We're gonna keep going after the hazard mitigation grants as much as we can. I mean, we've had 3 or 4 of them now already. So, it's not just the Godfrey Brook, though. We haven't started on the O'Brien Brook
Yep.
over the hospital brook, and that's part of it, too.
Would you say the 50% that we have left we're in decent shape on?
Yeah, it's mostly just culverts. I think we have 2 culvert crossings that need to be done. West Spruce, in West, the next street over, West Walnut. So those 2 need to be done. The brooks between those are good. There's a section between West Spruce and West Street that needs to be done. Small section. So there's no big multi-million-dollar projects.
Okay.
That was the Main Street one. That was the biggest one we've ever.
We don't have people's furniture in their backyard sinking in and,
No,
you
you
know, that
still
kind
have the
of stuff.
brook going over where, and flooding backyards,
Yeah.
but for the most part, it's at least 50% better than it was 10 years ago.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. It's a lot of good work and a lot of hard work by you guys to get that done, so, yep.
The 75,000, Mike, that you said 2020, is that fiscal 2020, which means next month you're looking for
Yes.
75?
Yep.
Because that was scheduled for next year for 75.
Well, I'm not sure what you're looking for, but I'm pretty sure I had it down for fiscal year 2020, next month.
Okay, because that was not on our list. Does that mean the 875 for 2021 gets moved forward a year, or does that stay where it is?
Well, that's the big number, and now that I'm thinking about this, we jumped out of order here. Number 1, we have a fairly substantial grant application pending right now in front of NEMA and FEMA. So that's where the last one I was just talking about kind of got convoluted, but stepping back to item number 1, after the hazard mitigation plan, we have a grant pending that we're potentially gonna know about in September.
For what?
2019, for Godfrey Brook.
Oh, for Godfrey Brook. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's what that 75
So
was
that's,
for originally.
Okay.
it might even be a little larger than 875, that grant application that's pending currently right now.
So that would be a section between West Street, the West Street culvert area, all the way to Water Street. All that in between there.
So should we wait until we know for sure if we are awarded the grant before moving forward with the?
Well, that's what I was trying to get across. So then the $75,000, we've kind of been kicking it out a year because the hazard mitigation plan wasn't in place, so we couldn't apply for the grants. We've applied for the grants. The grants are potentially coming out September or shortly. However, the $75,000, if we don't get the grant, then we're back using the $75,000 for the design, because we need to get it designed and move the thing forward to some degree.
Because we gotta do it anyway, whether we have a grant or not.
If we get the grant, we're gonna be required a 25% match regardless, so that 75 can go at least towards, either way, it's going towards Godfrey.
Either way,
Road.
there's gonna be
It's going towards Godfrey.
a request for funds, whether
Yes.
it's 75 or
Correct.
25.
Yes.
We just need to know when things move.
Yep.
In the future, if you could let us know early, because
Okay.
right now, we're putting together a $1.5 million proposal to the full FinCom
Yep.
from the capital subcommittee, and you just bumped somebody. That $75,000 is gonna kick somebody off. Huh?
Who'd we bump?
They don't know yet, so we're not gonna say it on television.
We didn't know from the 70. One other question, Hospital Brook.
Yes.
I heard that there's some collapsing, across from Joe
Under
Duke's,
Prospect Heights, yep.
behind Wally's house.
Yeah.
Is that
It's collapsing.
significant, or?
It is, yes. Just Band-Aiding it for now. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not even sure who owns that strip of land, if the town even has an easement there at this point. We're unsure.
Well, I was just curious, because I heard it collapsed in.
Yeah.
And I
It's
didn't know
a
if that's
steel
gonna be-
pipe, it's rotten and it's collapsing, yeah. I mean, it's the same problem they had in the park years ago. It's just continued downstream.
Well, as long as you know it. I just heard
Oh,
it
yeah.
last night.
Yeah, Wally calls us.
Wally called.
And Mike, I know you were jumping around because I was asking questions. Number 5, the MVP program.
Yes. Yeah, the MVP program that deals with climate change. We're an MVP community, certified MVP community. That was all done under a $20,000 grant. We did apply for a grant under their action grant program and it was for the $75,000, and we were not awarded that. So we'll just keep plugging away and submit grant applications when the chances arise under that program.
Perfect. All right, open up for any questions. And actually, Scotty's here for
Who's
the
presenting?
program or anything like that.
So I'm gonna present them all. I had a busy night. All right.
Yep. Mike.
So we're not asking for any additional funds for the MVP this year,
No,
correct?
nope.
Okay. And for MS4, the 400,000, what is, I mean, are there specific itemized projects or lists of work that's going to be completed to qualify for that permit, or is that just our fee for the right to discharge our stormwater into the water systems?
No, I could come up with a list that'll show you all the action items that will be taking place.
Could you submit that, please?
Yeah, sure.
And that's actually online. It's on there too.
Yeah, it's
On the, if you click on that link right there, it'll tell you the activities. I thought I saw that, right?
yeah, no, it's part of the stormwater
Okay, I
management.
just wanna be sure.
program.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions for these two gentlemen? Well, thank you guys very much for coming in. I know it's been a while since you saw Mike. Scott, we get
Yeah,
to see
thanks.
frequently, so, yep, you will.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, guys. Okay, obviously, that's a lot of information to absorb. If everyone can look that over, because obviously, there's some rather large projects on there. One thing I would recommend, because I did click on the link about the stormwater management, it's not the most exciting thing in the entire world, but it addresses a lot of the questions like Mike has, like, what is this 400,000 this year, 300,000 next year, actually gonna get done? Next time on the agenda, we have the Downtown Revitalization Committee. It's been quite a while since we had them in there. They were actually fledgling committee when they first came in, and they came in and asked, for the grant writer and that type of stuff. So I wanted them to come in and give us an update. I've been trying to hook up with Ronnie to try to get him in here, and our schedule been crossing. So he was kind enough to come in tonight to give us an update on what's going on with the Downtown Revitalization Committee.
Thank you. Just hand the details here.
I did, thank you.
Actually, I have to keep one.
No, take mine. I got mine on my email anyway. I already read it. I know you have a guest here, so if you wouldn't mind introducing.
Okay, we have.
He's
Mitch-
not the guest.
Yeah.
We know him already.
Mr. Mitch Rossetti. He is the one that was hired for the grant writing from the last town meeting. And I'm going to turn it over to him after to fill you in on his strides with the grant writing and how he sees things playing out. That's pretty interesting. And then I asked Rick if he could explain and update us on the Facade program. And basically, what I just passed out to you there is our long-range plan that we came out with about a year and a half ago. What we've been doing is going right along with that long-range plan. We're trying to come up with what we thought would turn the town around over time when these certain things get done. And we've been going to bat behind the scenes to try to make these things happen. Basically, we were able to get Mitch, our grant writer, to help try to find us some more money, any possible grant money that's out there for the different things we're trying to do. So I'm going to turn it over in a little bit to Mitch. One thing we were able to accomplish back in the fall was we got a $15,000 grant. There was I think 7 towns that were up for it, and we were able to get that $15,000 grant. And that was based on a housing study. And Mitch will also fill you in on where that stands now. And that's one of the things that we were trying to accomplish in the range plan. The increasing housing downtown, quality housing, where the local people can walk to work, to the Milford Hospital, Consigli Construction, now with the bus route to maybe Waters and some of the other towns, we can try to get some younger generation in over time with quality housing. So they're working on the initial part of that study, which Mitch will fill you in on. We're also recently, the Rockland Trust property was sold, and potentially we have the nice restaurant from Hudson taking it over. They have some things that they're working on, but they're going to make a major investment, and we're asking for however you can support them if it ever comes up. It could be the big jump start for downtown. I can't say, we've met with them, but I don't know their exact plans, but if that happens, we're really excited about it. They're going to make a very big investment in downtown, put a lot of money into the property that they just purchased, and they own all the parking in the back, and they can have outdoor seating. It's the old Home National Bank building, and it's a big, big thing. I went to see him about a year and a half ago to let him know what we're trying to do. I met one of the owners, and it was just a short meeting, and sure enough, when one of the first buildings that came up for sale downtown Milford, they thought it was a great fit. The demographics of Milford is a lot like Hudson, and it really works for them. They have a gold mine. But that, I don't want to speak for them, but that's what we're hoping on, and I think it looks pretty good. They need to get a liquor license through the state. They're working on that, I believe, and some other things. So, that's the kind of business that we want to try to support, and that's going to help turn around downtown. It'll be a great thing. The other thing is we're finally getting everybody in sync with the highway department and the parks department to come up with a good, consistent weeding and maintenance. It's been hodgepodge now where, they'll go gangbusters, and then for 3 or 4 months, you won't see anything else, and the weeds come back. So I'm a stickler on that. I'd like to see downtown from one end to the other, no weeds. And it has to be an ongoing thing, or it just doesn't work. So hopefully they can, and I think Rick can touch on that too, they can work together to make this happen.
We've met with them. They will put together an overall plan. It will be a 365-day year plan, seasonal plan. They'll work in conjunction with one another. Scotty is looking into, we need to get an aerial spray program in place with the state. And I think once we do that, then at that point, hopefully we can talk the specific plan, and then any budgetary needs or concerns would have to be vetted at that point. But they're both committed to it. I know the Board of Selectmen are very committed to it, as we all should be. Yep.
And one thing that I'm looking for support coming up one way or another, let me know how I should approach it. We're looking at, hopefully in the springtime, for that third building to come down on Central Street. And we're really gearing up for the extra parking that's already been engineered by the town engineer and Larry Duncan. It's tiered parking. I think it's 30 to 40 cars that we can get behind. Well, it's on Central Street where the 3 buildings will eventually be down. 2 of them are down already, which you know. The third one, I believe the money's in the budget to take that down. But it's going to cost some money to build this 2-tiered parking. I was back there yesterday to go to one of the music store, actually, Music and Arts, and I couldn't find a parking spot. It was around 3 o'clock. It gets very busy at that time. You can always find parking, obviously, but that's still one of our main things. We're looking at increasing businesses downtown, so the existing parking, if it looks fine now, it's not going to be fine, because we're trying to bring in bigger businesses and better businesses that might attract more driving and more people. So we're looking into the future, and so that parking is a key, because it's right in the center of downtown. So it's tiered parking. I don't know if, Al, if we have to go through the subcommittee to address that, is that the proper,
How much?
just 7 million, I don't know.
Go to Moran's, get it out
Yeah,
of petty
yeah.
cash.
Yeah, right.
No, it's, of course, we'd have to, the first step would be just hiring somebody to come up with an initial cost, and then we'll know. I don't think it's, I don't know. It's not a parking garage.
No.
It's,
No, but I would say go through the selectmen first, get the concept,
okay,
then go to the subcommittee, because whether we call it capital or not,
yes,
we're not getting hung up in definitions.
okay,
Money's money.
Yeah.
So if it's something that we have to look at coming out of the $1.5 annual $1 million budget, it should go to the subcommittee. Subcommittee will vet it and then bring it forward to the full committee, gets final say from our side.
okay, all right,
Does
so,
that make sense?
yeah, it does, yeah.
But everything's with the selectmen now, until you have a rock-solid plan.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay. That I know.
Gotta start with them.
Okay, good. Well, so that's about it. I don't know if you have any questions. I'd like to turn it over to Mitch if I could, or Rick first if you want.
Mine is going to be very brief, unless there's questions for Ronnie. I didn't want to.
I think we'll probably bounce around after and ask
Okay,
questions of.
Okay. I think everybody's hopefully somewhat familiar with the Downtown Facade Improvement Program. The intent is to restore buildings downtown. Thanks to Representative Murray, Senator Fatman, we received an earmark of $150,000. The town meeting did, if you recall, appropriated money for an architect. So we're working with the design architect who's designing the conceptual plans and the designs. We also have a construction firm that is now doing the work. The program works, we have an award, bless you, award cap of $20,000 per building, 30 per owner. It's a 75-25 split, so 75% coming out of the earmark, 25% coming, so the individual owner has a stake, so to speak, in the game. To date, we have started or completed 7 buildings in the downtown area. It includes things as walls, signage, doors, windows, light fixtures, facades that you've seen. The state has been very cooperative with us, kind of extending a little bit so that we could get additional projects in. In addition, I think thanks to Senator Fatman, we now have another $70,000 in the next year's, the budget that was just passed. So we want people to know that we're looking for additional applications from building owners along the Main Street corridor, and it does offshoot also down Central Street and other streets. So I think the program, it was new. We had some
Learning curve,
some
that's
blips,
all.
some learning curve is a good word to say. But I think the program is working well. The owners we're working with now seem pleased with it, and we hope to get some additional applications.
And I think that that's something that once people start to see
Exactly.
other businesses do that, they may not, because people they may not read the newspaper, they may not listen to MRC, they may not watch meetings like this, they don't know about that. But when they start to see their neighbor, all of a sudden, the front of their building, whoa, what happened there? Oh, well, I went through the Downtown Revitalization Facade Program, and this is what the deal is. And I think it will start to snowball, hopefully, and, the more people are interested, the more applications you'll get, and then the more people who see that, then, so on and so forth.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a major project. I mean, we have one that was less than $10,000.
Yep.
It was a nice facade.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to be that extent. We've got other applicants that want to do 2 buildings. So they're going to look for the full 30, but that's going to be a greater contribution from that individual applicant, so.
But Rick, the fact that you already have somebody moving into a dead building
Yeah,
says
that's
everything
one of the
we
applicants,
wanted.
correct, yeah.
Yeah,
Now, how long's that building been sitting there?
So,
yeah, so that help.
so like the program, again, is new, it's different, but I think now we have a better handle on it. And I think for the next year, it'll be much more streamlined.
Yeah, smoother.
That's all I have.
All right. Thanks for having me. My name is Mitch. I've been helping the town out and the downtown committee with some redevelopment and development work. As Ronnie briefly mentioned, we worked with Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD, through the state to procure a downtown housing study through a Mass Downtown Initiative grant opportunity. We met with them for the first time last month, the consultant group that the state partnered the town with. They should have a completed product, I would assume, by November into December, based on the timeline that we were provided. What they're gonna be looking at essentially is, in the business district that was developed downtown, that's been delineated, redevelopment opportunities for some of the parcels down there, parking opportunities, things like that. So we're excited to work with them moving forward. In addition, working with Rick on making our downtown buildings more accessible through applying for the Mass Office on Disability grant opportunity due this fall. So hopefully we'll get some of the things taken care of, specifically here at Town Hall. And lastly, working on perhaps getting some funding into one of the parks.
Draper Park.
Draper Park.
Which is gonna be looking for grant opportunities.
So working with Mass Development on that currently.
Is that instead of the 75,000?
Not to my knowledge, no. Yeah.
All right, does anybody have any questions for these gentlemen? Yep, Mike?
When you're doing these facade updates, you guys do any before and after pictures for? like-
Absolutely, yes.
And where do you post that so that people can see that?
We haven't yet, but we will be,
Okay.
yeah. There's really only one that's really almost pretty much 100% complete, which is the restaurant 89.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, no, they're taking before and after, so, because we want to then try to even publicize it more for the next wave.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anyone else have any questions? All right, so I just want to know where you guys stand right now. What is your next goal that you guys want to achieve right now? And just so that we can, we want to try to work with you as much as possible. Tell me where you're sitting. Obviously, you have your 5-year plan and that kind of stuff. What's the next obstacle you want? Now we have the facade program. What's your next goal, Ron? You always have a goal, so.
Yeah, I do. I guess creating the parking on Central Street, then we'll work on a couple of landlords to clean up the backs of their buildings, so that will be a nice-looking area. But I think creating the parking is the next real goal for us, immediate goal. The plan is to take that building down in the springtime, so getting the funding for the tiered parking and finding out what it's gonna cost, and doing it. Not like 3 or 4 years from now, but I think as soon as we can, and that will help attract other businesses. The goal eventually is to get a better mix downtown, and it's awful hard to do it right now because almost every store is full with the wrong mix of stores and businesses. So as one moves out, like Rockland, would like to attract a business like Flatbread, Real Trail Flatbread, or a brewery. Seems to be the thing that's happening in downtowns. Other restaurants, or boutique shops, but that's gonna take more time, and that's our eventual thing that we'll be working on, is changing the mix downtown. But the immediate thing is getting that parking done so we can try to attract more businesses. And
Because I agree with you, but we've talked about this many times. The parking is the key to everything. Because no business is gonna look here, and the only reason they probably like the Rockland Trust is because they have the huge parking lot in behind.
yes,
Okay? Not any other business have that. So that is why that particular building was attractive. To all these other businesses, if there is no parking, you're not gonna attract the businesses. And that's why we've talked about, to me, parking is everything. I work on Main Street, my lot's full behind me all the time. The lot behind Alfonso's is filled all the time. Main Street, trying to parallel park there, people have a hard time, and people right there are parking there for the day. People aren't parking there, I've noticed cars that are there. A lot of them are probably business owners or people, that type of stuff, where, I'm not saying we put in, the parking time limits and that kind of stuff, but people are spending their whole days, whether it's a dentist and he parks his car there and goes in there all day. We have a serious parking problem, and no business is gonna come here if they know that they have no place for their people to park.
and it's convenient parking too. People
that's
are
the
used
thing.
to that too, but, so that's always gonna be a challenge in any downtown. The other thing I did notice when I was trying to find a parking spot a couple days ago, there's a lot of the ladder trucks or workers' trucks that are taking up quite a few of the spots. And I think what I envision is going to see if we can buy a small house lot or something and have it a designated spot, not the municipal parking behind all the stores, but a little bit off the beaten path where it's not going to be an eyesore, but you can put them all concentrated in one area instead of in the public municipal parking. That will help right away.
We've already set a precedent on it. On a couple of our lots, we have the parking spots that are strictly for the commercial vehicles. So we already have this plan in place. It's just expanding the plan to encompass
No,
more
exactly.
spots.
Yeah, leaving the more convenient spots for the customers and having those ladder trucks. I say ladder trucks, but they're vans.
Commercial vehicles, yeah.
Commercial.
I don't mean anything by that.
Yeah.
And just a little bit off the beaten path, and some property that the town owns or that we can be purchased for that reason only, because it is a real thing. Those trucks have been there for a long, long time, and they're not gonna go anywhere. They're people that are working, and they need to put those vans somewhere. So let's have a designated spot that's a little bit off the beaten path. That's something I envision.
Because I've seen a huge difference even just in my lot behind my business with the commercial spots are in the back corner over there.
Yes.
And I noticed that they're not using all the other spots again, and there are spots now available for people to park and that type of stuff. So I know that with what we did, I've seen it work. So to expand the program, I think, is a great idea.
Yeah.
And I think to kind of jump in with what Ronnie said too, I think what we're really looking at, particularly with this DHCD opportunity where we're looking at this downtown study, is to kind of use that study as a catalyst to build for future funding opportunities, with the main goal of being something larger through DHCD, like a community development block grant, which is a much larger opportunity. So we're kind of paving the road now for that, for a larger infrastructure project or a larger funding opportunity that can be used for some of the things that you're talking about that the state would help us on.
This is more of a question directed to Mitch. I know that when we had presented your position, when we had talked about that you weren't strictly going to be for downtown, and we were going to try to use you for other areas. Can you just fill us in on any other areas that maybe you've been working with Rick on?
One is the ADA grant opportunity. That's a specific grant opportunity for ADA projects. So he has been very helpful with the information I provided to him, and he's now compiling it to put it in. So that's one opportunity. I'll let him talk.
So we're looking at, for those opportunities in particular, we're looking at different municipally owned structures throughout, not just downtown, but throughout the town. And, Rick could probably give you a little more information on what we're looking at there. A lot of that was based off of the study that was compiled through funding provided by the Office on Disability last year through our ADA improvement plan, which was exceptionally done, by the way, going through that. It's a very good product. So we're kind of pairing what's needed with funding throughout town. I've just been working with different departments to identify certain opportunities as they come up. This is what I do for a living. I work with the state full-time, so just as things progress throughout town, we're looking at different opportunities and different ways to match funding.
The reason why I ask is that the people that were in here right before you, they used the word grant, I think 62 times in the half hour that they were here. So to have an asset like you, I'm hoping from Mike and Scott maybe to work with someone like this. And I'm not saying that they're not the best grant writers in the world, but we had a grant writer years ago, and she was amazing. Sue Clark, just amazing. And she brought this town so much money. So someone like you to be an asset like that to us, I'm sorry, you're gonna have a hard time filling her shoes, but you can try real hard. But someone like our departments, like Mike, being able to work with Mitch and that type of stuff, we can use any help we can get on stuff like that. So as long as you're willing to do that, and like I said, we thought that a grant writer would be available to everybody. So
We're trying to expand him and not just restrict him to the downtown area.
that's
So, and
what I hope. Yeah.
at some point, maybe down the road, we're going to consider maybe a position.
Yep.
Again, I'm jumping ahead.
Nope, I
but
know.
I think
kinda what I was
in
inferring,
working
Rick.
with him, yeah, I think you were, so I figured I'd jump ahead.
Yeah.
Just bring in as much money as Sue Trotter did, and no
He's
problem.
done a nice job,
Yes.
and we'll be able to show
And
that.
I have to say, Mitch has been putting
Yeah.
above and beyond, helping me out
Appreciate
with
it.
different things, and has done a really good job. And he was part of getting that $15,000 grant. He wrote on his own.
He wrote that
Before
grant,
the grant was awarded to him as a grant writer. He did that on his own, and he did a great job, and that was a big part of how we were able to get that $15,000 grant.
Yeah, and I grew up here. I mean, this is kind of a pet project for me, and any way I can help out,
I
Certainly.
love it, because I hate paying taxes, but if the taxes come back to Milford, it makes me feel a little bit better about it, so. Any other questions for these gentlemen while they're here? Oh, absolutely.
More of a comment, concern. It kind of concerns me when we start talking about buying lots specifically designated for commercial vehicles. You know, what comes to mind is Amazon, right? You know, why would Amazon purchase private lots to park their hundreds of vans if Milford is ready and willing and able to purchase lots for ladder trucks? So I'm very concerned about setting a precedence that, you know, we are going to build lots, commercial lots, municipal lots, for specifically for commercial vehicles. If commercial vehicles don't have room to park in the street, then they should be purchasing private lots to park their commercial vehicles. This is not,
So I don't know
these
how-
are not residential zones, or these are residential zones, excuse me. They're not commercial zones, right?
Where the trucks are now?
Yeah, the side streets, right? The
Well,
Court Streets and the,
I don't have a particular lot. I didn't know if the town owns any certain lot that it makes sense to put them there, like extra land, town land. I don't know. I think something creative can happen. But I think it's a good idea to get them all in one area.
Are these people with the vans, are they town employees, or are they renting these spaces from?
See, I don't know what the,
I don't know where, this is kind of new to me. I think I'd rather defer this subject at
We
this
just giving
point,
them the
because
space
this is
for
all
free?
speculative. I
It's
think
a
Chris hit
town
the
lot,
nail.
right? Yeah, I mean, charge a monthly fee or limit the parking to no more
Yeah, I
than 2 or 3
think we're getting
hours.
way ahead of ourselves there.
Yeah.
I think Chris's idea of expanding what we have may be the first step. I
the
really don't want to
first-
go down this road. I don't
The
think we
first
should.
step may be simple. If you're gonna attract, or you want to attract new businesses, somehow we gotta come up with a plan that allows customers. Because you can tell me all about a great restaurant, if I gotta walk half hour, I ain't going.
Right.
You know, so we'll focus on that in the future.
Exactly.
Not, you know, let's not develop the plan before we know the goal.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think this
Yeah,
is
I
right,
think-
very
yep,
speculative right
yep.
now. I agree that let's
Yep.
develop the downtown plan and we'll work off of that. Yeah. Agreed.
Anybody else have any questions for these gentlemen? Well, thank you guys very much. Keep up
Thank
the
you.
good work, and I appreciate, oh. Great. All right, well, thank you very much.
thank you very much.
thanks, guys.
Mitch? Nicker City?
Yes, relatively.
Huh?
Relatively.
How's-
All related somehow. There's too many of us floating around, but.
Excellent. All right, the third item on the agenda is the sewer department. I don't know what happened there. We had, Bobby sent out several notifications to the sewer department. He never heard back from them. I had sent out something, so I think we're gonna have to reschedule them for another meeting. Speaking of next meetings, we obviously have town meeting coming up. Town meeting is 28th, I think. Rick, is it 28th, town meeting?
October 28th.
Thought so, great. All right, so our regular meeting is, October 3rd. There are gonna be quite a bit of capital, is it the second? Sorry.
October 2nd.
October 2nd. Oh, no, it's not, it's the 9th. Thank you. All right, so working backwards, we need 2 weeks to be able to get the report out. So I'm looking at, to try to have, the 9th and the 10th for, meetings. If we don't, depending on when the warrant gets closed, the warrant gets closed on the 13th, which is this Friday, maybe we can do everything, on our regularly Wednesday meeting. What? 13th is tomorrow? Oh, it closes tomorrow? I thought it was the 13th. All right. So anyway, we'll have a better idea of how many articles are on there and whether they've been on the 5-year plan, because obviously if they've been on the 5-year plan and that type of stuff, it goes a lot quicker and smoother than debating out things that jump onto the plan. So I really want to see that, but I do want to put it in the books that we are going to be meeting on the 9th and 10th for the town meeting. And then if we don't have to go to the 10th, depending on the amount of articles, then we'll just do our regular meeting. Aldo?
I'm not talking about that, I'd like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, so once, so I just want, is that cool with everyone? All right, great. So right now, if we can put that in the books for the 9th and the 10th, if you can see if this room's available on Thursday. Obviously, it's available on Wednesday. That'd be great. And hopefully, we can, once I have a better idea, I'll reach out to you guys, and I can see if we want to do a marathon on the 9th or break it up into 2 days. Okay? Aldo had talked to me earlier about wanting to talk about a couple things,
Just
so.
a couple of things,
Yep.
and I'm not gonna take up too much of your time. I've been asked by some of the community people that I happen to run into, and in fact, actually, I got a couple of phone calls. They wanted to know what the finance committee's position was with regards to the new high school. And of course, I was somewhat mystified, because I didn't realize we were doing a new high school. But the fact of the matter is, they said that that's what they see out there. So if I missed it, please tell me. But have we in any way been approached for a new high school?
No, I know the school had run public forums regarding their comprehensive facilities plan that included plans for the new schools that they wanted. So early discussions are out there. Kevin McIntyre can give you more details about it, but they have been having public forums on that.
Mike, are you the chair of that sub?
No, that would be Mr. Muir.
He's new to the job.
Well, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the chairman of that subcommittee, could we get some information with regards to what they're contemplating? They were talking about the science area and putting in some serious dollars in that. But along those same lines, I've heard them tell one another that they need to add occupational programs at the high school. And for those of us that have been around from the 60s, when that building opened in 1973 or 74, it had 10 programs on occupational education, because that's, we took care of it there. So if there is any intention of our going in that direction, I think we need to know, because that's gonna be dollars and cents. I have a couple more, but I'll certainly let my good friend
No,
Alberto jump in.
we just met on the science issue.
I know, I was here.
Well, you there, okay.
Okay, I was here.
Aldo, you certainly have brought up something that obviously I've been hearing a lot about and a lot of people are talking about, because it has been broached and there has been forums about the talk of the redevelopment of that building or the building of a new building. I'll tell you publicly, as chairman of the finance committee, I have no comment on it because I have had nothing presented to me. So until something gets presented to me that I am able to digest, look at, and decide whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, I have no comment on the school. Obviously, you guys can do whatever you want, but I know until I get information, I can't give a good, educated response to what this town is gonna do with their school buildings. Once it's presented to me, then I can make a decision and get an opinion on it.
That's fine, I just was concerned that I had missed
Nope,
something.
you didn't miss anything.
Aldo, there was talk about building 3 schools in 6 years. I mean, I'm not sure what reality or what dimension that came from, but
We have an oil well out back there, I don't know.
$400 million in 5 years. I mean, we started laughing. I mean, we've talked about, since Woodland was finished, that probably the possibility would come in 8 years or so of redoing the high school. You know, and the thoughts have come out,
That's right.
but there's nothing concrete.
That's all I wanted to know,
Yep.
Al,
Yep.
because when I keep telling people I really haven't heard anything about it, they wonder whether I attend meetings. The other thing I'd
You're
like
you're
to do
100%
is,
right.
Since we're on,
High school. What do you mean by redo the high school?
No, Jerry, you can't define it because there's, just like Woodland, there's
never
two
mind.
thoughts of do you tear it down and build new, or do you renovate?
Do you renovate?
But just like Woodland, until it was evaluated, you're speculating. So there's, it's just
Woodland had
talk.
some.
Yeah. So let's not, I don't wanna talk about something that we said we weren't gonna talk
But
about, because we don't know anything about it, so.
Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely, Aldo, keep going.
Through you to the chairman of the
Yeah.
subcommittee, if we're not gonna build anything in the immediate future, then maintenance of our properties is imperative. Now, as chairman, now I'm gonna put on another hat, as chairman of the building committee for Woodland, this committee gave us an additional $88,000 a year for maintenance, upkeep maintenance on that property. Could you, Mr. Chairman, not Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman
I'll back my
Nero,
chair up a little bit.
would you be able to find out if in fact we are maintaining our properties, particularly the brand new one? Because it's like owning a new car. You don't change the oil every 36,000 miles. You change it as you need to. So could you check on that to just see where that money that this committee appropriated was specifically to do the preventive maintenance at the Woodland School?
Yeah, yes, I will do
This is a
that.
daddy looking after his baby here, is really what it comes down
Well,
to.
well, so a couple things with that, right? What I really want to know is, I've asked that question because we've walked the area and the weeds have been 3 feet tall against the school, right? So I asked the question, well, it's the Parks Department, it's the school department, it's, whose is it?
I understand.
Whose is it? I mean, as the,
I've asked the same questions.
and you don't know that answer. I don't know that
I do know
answer.
the answer, but
You know, but then we hear, well, it's not accessible to the equipment. It's like, well, then we need to do something here. This is, you know, I'll ask the question. I definitely
that's
will.
great. The exterior is fine. I mean, I'm concerned about the building itself, the infrastructure of that building. Because if we're looking at 10 or 15 years out for a new piece of schooling, then we've got to keep what we own now in perfect order. And it's imperative. You're not gonna take care of your house once every 15 years, well, at least I hope we don't. But that's it. So if you can do that, then I have one other
I'll ask the question.
request from you, for you, sir. Is it possible
Now,
for
if it
you?
was for me, that's why I said you could keep it.
Is it possible, I mean, I've been doing some thinking lately. Is it possible for you to get I don't care what the names of the kids are, I would never even suggest that. But reading in the Crier and in the Daily News, I noticed that a number of the graduates there are not heading into the plumbing and the electrical, they're heading into four-year colleges. I'm curious as to what percentage of the graduating class actually practices the vocation that they were enlisted as, right? They're plumbers, they don't do any lawyers, but maybe next year. But I'm curious as to what's coming out of the school and where are the children going? Because in my mind, we're competing with another comprehensive high school if 70 or 80% are going off to private school. And believe me,
So you're directing that more to
I'm all for
BBT,
education.
right? That's
I
that's a
wanted-
BBT question.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I'll-
I'm just
I can
looking
talk to
for
Dr.
numbers, I'm curious.
Yep, I'll be happy to do that.
And, let me see. I guess that's it, Mr. Chairman.
You sure you're on a roll?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you want to do that, absolutely.
To answer another, you were there, Aldo, but in general, for years, we've been after the school committee to upgrade the science facilities. I mean, Jeff went to Milford High, I went to Milford High, and we both had the same reaction when we went into the C wing. Boy, this is cool. It's just like when I left it. Oh my God, that was 40 years ago. And it's just like I left it. So we've been after the school committee to put together a plan that seriously updates the equipment and the course level so people can be ready for biotech, for biopharma, because that's the driving force now in Massachusetts. The school committee brought a preliminary plan to the capital subcommittee. And it's not part of our $1.5 million scheduled purchases, because we told them we can't absorb $250,000 times 2 years. So they did bring a plan forward, phase one being $250,000, and that would, once we get the details laid out, The committee believed in the concept of the plan, but there were a lot of questions about implementation and how to stretch that money. So we're gonna take up with the school committee and the people who put together the plan, the details. And the idea would be, we would not fund it out of our normal 1.5. The school department had $90,000 for maintenance, for a Stacy controller, for their high back and environmental controls. This would be if the finance committee believes that we're having a strong enough year that we could afford to take $200,000, $254, I think it was, out of surplus, then we would fund it. There'd be no guarantee, no commitment to the second phase, because you don't know what next year is gonna be. It'd be the same plan we did with the returfing of the field, but there's a lot of questions about what programs does it support, how does it support. The administration was here an hour ago or 2 hours ago, and they were favorable towards us appointing a couple people to work with them to vet the exact items. We do have people who know that kind of cell culture and that kind of equipment. So it's gone through the first hurdle, which is the concept seems sound. Now the idea is to vet the individual items and the programs and then bring it back to the full FinCom. So that's where we are on that.
I'll make you feel better, Al. I was chairman of the school committee when we opened that building in 1974. And I do remember, the science wing was one of the gems in that building. You had the climate control room, and you had a whole, it was really something to be seen. You had the 10 occupational education. If any of you have been up there, you see that the building, the rooms on the western side of the building are much larger. They look like garages. Well, that was all the occupational education part of that program. So there was a meaningful attempt up there to meet the needs of our children. Everybody was coming out of there that went through that arcade with an entry-level skill. They're not going to come up as master mechanics or anything of that sort, but it had the right idea. And then, of course, we got that swimming pool. That's a great part of that building. So it's a building that it's worth keeping. It's a building that's worth renovating. It's a building that needs our attention constantly, inside and outside. Because you only get one chance to make a first impression on someone coming to your building. Only one. So we need to be attentive to that.
And Aldo, one of the other caveats that we posed, or that we imposed, is that we don't want any renovation funds. So don't come before the subcommittee, and obviously the full committee could override it, with, I'm gonna spend $100,000 moving walls. Because in 8 years, when we go for a new school, that's, money's gone. Come to us with portable equipment, things that, when we renovate, can carry over.
I'll just mention one thing to you, Al, since you handle the projected expenditures. At some point, we have to put some money aside for a feasibility study, because we're not gonna go anywhere without a feasibility study. And that'll tell you which walls we might need to move, or it doesn't make any sense making those sorts of moves. But
No, now though, that's the point. Nothing that we're entertaining at the subcommittee level is permanent, what I call permanent.
sure,
It's for equipment, it's for things that support programs, that the day we decide, whenever that is, to renovate the school, can carry over.
once we start doing that, we can all get quite nervous when they tell you how much it's gonna cost.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Things are gonna go fast once the warrant closes for articles. Please, subcommittees, reach out to your department heads, okay? Set up some meetings, go over their articles, make sure everything is tied up for the October 9th or 10th meeting, okay? We wanna make sure we finish everything up there. So if there's any information, questions, or anything, we want to have the answers to it. So subcommittees, if you can, anybody who has anything on the warrant, reach out to their department heads. And if it's a simple question you need to ask, then ask it. If you have to have a meeting, have a meeting, okay? Any other topics we need? All right.
Will we adjourn?
Motion by Aldo, second by Chuck. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thanks and have a good night.